for Chifley has the call.
Thanks, Speaker. My question is to the Assistant Treasurer and Minister assisting for deregulation. How is the government making sure that members of parliament have access to independent advice on getting policies and proposals fully costed? And why is it important that the Australian people are fully informed about costed and funded policies?
The Assistant Treasurer has the call.
I thank the member for Chifley for his question. And this government is very proud of the fact that we've established the Parliamentary Budget Office, which provides an unprecedented opportunity for members of parliament to go down and get their policies independently costed. Of course, that means that now, for the first time, there will be absolutely no excuses for parties to avoid getting their policies independently costed and having them out there before the Australian people before the election. Of course, we have all seen the Leader of the Opposition out there running around with his so-called real plan. That real plan, that little pamphlet that he sticks up under his chin when he does a television interview. He tells us that he's got a real plan, but we're just months out from the election and we still do not have a single properly costed policy from the opposition. And that's because they are determined to hide their plans from the Australian people. But I read in the Daily Telegraph today that the member for North Sydney, he has now issued a gag order on coalition MPs and coalition candidates from talking to the Parliamentary Budget Office over fears that new laws will expose the coalition to greater scrutiny.
Oh. Can't have that.
Well, we wouldn't want that. We wouldn't want that. And it just goes to show you the extent to which they will go to avoid having their policies exposed to any scrutiny. Now, I do note that when the Leader of the Opposition, to his credit, was asked about this today, he said, well, this is all news to me. But I would have thought that if the member for North Sydney was writing to his colleagues about these matters, I would have thought the Leader of the Opposition would be at the very top of his mailing list. Because when it comes to unfunded, uncosted policies, he's the chief architect. He's out there. He's the one responsible for their $20 billion paid parental leave cash splash. He's the one that's responsible for their billions of dollars that they want to waste.
Resume his seat. The Deputy Leader of the Opposition on a point of order.
Madam Speaker, this is starting to be like an obsessive-compulsive disorder. They do nothing but talk.
The Deputy Leader of the Opposition will resume her seat. The Deputy Leader of the Opposition will resume her seat and count herself lucky. The Assistant Treasurer has the call.
He wants to waste billions of dollars handing out money to polluters. We all know, and don't forget, what about that other one, the Northern Australia policy, where they're going to build all of these dams around the place. They're going to gold-plate footpaths up in Northern Australia. Well, none of these policies are costed. It's all starting to look like there's a pattern here of those opposite trying to hide their plans from the Australian people. Now, we all know that the nastiest of their policies, well, they won't release them now. They're saving them for the secret commission of cuts. But it looks as though now they don't want any of their policies to be exposed to any scrutiny ahead of the election. They won't be sending any to the Parliamentary Budget Office. Well, I have to say that the one thing that should scare every Australian family is that what we saw at the last election with their $11 billion black hole, well, that's nothing. Because if they were to get elected at the next election, their big black hole will be paid for by every Australian family, and that'll be through the savage cuts to the bone.
The Assistant Treasurer's time has expired. The member for Stirling has the call.